There's nothing like baseball in the fall. We are at Fenway Park, and the Yankees are going for 5 straight wins today against the rival Boston Red Sox. On the mound, they will turn to Nestor Cortes Jr. He's been great overall this season, but less effective in recent outings. It's Game 2 of the 9-game must-win gauntlet for the Yankees. My recap, your reactions, next. This is Yankees Game Night. That was a good baseball game, ladies and gentlemen. No DJ in the lineup today. No Voit in the lineup today. It was a challenge for the offense early. It looked like it was going to be another one of those days, but Giancarlo Stanton saves the day. No belt vote needed. He was up by 96%. Belt winner for today. And don't look now, but that is 5 consecutive wins for the Yankees. Let's get to the recap, and then we'll go through your reactions. Both teams went quietly early in the first and second innings. Outside of a base hit from Giancarlo Stanton, he ripped one down the right field line. The right fielder was playing him over towards the line, so he prevented it from kind of bouncing around down there and held Giancarlo to a single. Hunter Renfroe took a home run away from Rougned Odor in the top of the third. Tough luck for Odor, who just hasn't been in the lineup much lately. Kevin Pawecki wanna drink a Wawa, makes it 1-0 in the bottom of the third with a solo home run over the monster. It remained quiet for both teams until the bottom of the fifth. Aaron Judge takes a 2-run home run away from Brian Dahlbeck in right field. Almost turned into a double play. He made an awesome throw to first base, but just a hair late. Excuse me. Nestor was done after 4 1/3 innings. His final line, 2 earned runs, 4 strikeouts. Mike King came in and allowed an inherited runner to score on a wild pitch. That was the second run charged to Nestor Cortes. I thought he was okay. Sometimes he doesn't go very deep into the game, but I also think that the Yankees, with a lefty on the mound in Cortes, are being extra careful in Boston. I feel like he probably could have gone a little further, but you don't want to serve up a hanging breaking ball and have it turn into a big home run. So smart move getting him out, getting a ground ball pitcher, Mike King, into the game. Top of the 6th, Urshela singles and Gardy doubles to put men on second and third with 1 out. The double by Gardy actually knocked Pivetta out of the game. He was terrific today for the Red Sox. Urshela scores on a wild pitch to make it 2-1. The pitch moves Gardner over to third, but Aaron Judge bounces to third, and Gardner was caught going home. He was running on contact, and he got thrown out. It's one of those plays where you just have to risk it, and unfortunately did not work out for the Yankees. They do not score. Additionally, Yankees put 2 men on to lead off the 7th, but Gleyber Torres hits into a 4-6-3 double play. Yankees don't score again. I'm losing my track here. My eyes are so tired from watching those green jerseys yesterday. Luis Severino came in for the bottom of the 7th. He looked good. He worked a scoreless inning, got the fastball up to 98 miles an hour. Gardy walks and steals second in the top of the 8th. With 2 outs, setting up the tying run for Aaron Judge. He drew a walk. They bring in a lefty to face Rizzo. He gets drilled, and you have to leave the lefty in there to pitch to Giancarlo Stanton. And obviously, biggest moment, biggest swing of the season for the Yankees so far. I tweeted a second before the swing. I said, Giancarlo should just hit a monster grand slam here. It's exactly what he did. 452 feet. Just disappeared into the Boston night. I loved it. You could just see it getting smaller and smaller as it headed towards downtown Boston. I mean, Giancarlo's just been so clutch this year. By the time it got to home plate, I was searching for a Giancarlo Stanton number 27 jersey. 17 home runs and 45 ribbies since August 1st for Giancarlo Stanton. Second home run in as many days. 4 RBI in each of the last 2 games, hitting .302 in high leverage situations this year. The man is clutch. Just so clutch right now. Severino worked a great 8th inning, 2 scoreless innings for him. He's looking like he's, getting better as he's coming back. To me, that's a huge weapon out of the bullpen. If you can get 2 dominant innings from Luis Severino, that's a huge, huge pickup because he's a rested arm. He's an experienced arm. He's got different pitches he can get you out with. He can throw the 98-mile-an-hour fastball. We saw that today. Got a great slider. He's got a changeup that he picked up some strikeouts with over the first 2 outings. So having him back gives you a way to get pretty much anybody out. Chapman comes in for the 9th. Dahlbeck hits a solo home run on a hanging slider to make it 5-3. My heart begins to struggle to pump blood through my clogged arteries, but somehow he gets through it, and the Yankees win this one 5 straight.
Ball game over. Yankees win. The Yankees win.
Sprinting Water says, we won the series. Yeah, that's an official win in the series. We talked about how the Yankees need to just keep winning as many games as possible. So you don't worry about winning the series. You just want to win every day. Tomorrow you got to go for the sweep. The Yankees have struggled with sweeps all season. It seems like when they win the first 2 games of the series, they tend to mail it in for game 3. Can't do that tomorrow. Jordan Montgomery is on the mound. He's got to come out and be dealing. The Red Sox have got to be feeling as if they are, taking a body blow here with this game. The Yankees are climbing up. The Yankees have a chance to climb past them if they win tomorrow. Pressure's on Boston, even though they're at home. Kobe221 says, we want Tampa. I tell you what, if the Yankees go on a run right now and end this season red hot, you win the wild card game, you get the momentum going, they can beat Tampa. They've seen Tampa a ton this year. They'll see them in the final series of the season. Sure, it's going to be a series that's on the road most of the time. Tampa will have home field advantage, but the Yankees can take care of business by winning one of those first 2 games, and then they have home field advantage. John Stanton says, everybody talking like they got something to say, but they forgot about Stanton with the song lyrics there. Appreciate that, John. It's time to go to the John. Mike Salerno says, can they please take Chapman out of the closer role? He's been absolutely terrible. He was great for the first part of the season, but, since that whole spider tech thing, he's one of those guys that struggled a little bit. I think there's a chance that Giancarlo Stanton will not be with the Yankees next year. He's got a significant salary. If the Yankees are planning to retool their roster, they have some young arms. They have Jonathan Loaizaga who can close. We've seen the Yankees in the past opt not to pay big for relievers when they have young arms available. Think John Wetland not coming back right after he won the World Series MVP in 1996. Yankees choose to go with Mariano Rivera, who at that point was a dynamic setup man, just like Jonathan Loaizaga. Do you make Jonathan Loaizaga the closer next year? Save a few bucks. You'd have to deal Chapman. You'd probably have to eat some of his salary next year. I'm not sure what he's making. It's got to be about 15, 16 million, something like that. So let's say you eat 6, 7 million of that, and you move him somewhere, and somebody gets somebody who's going to put fans in the seats, a guy who throws triple digits, a marquee name for, kind of a bargain. That's something that could happen. But let's see how the rest of the season works out before we go planning the offseason. Jason Gahn says, if my calculations are correct, Giancarlo will be our manager in 15 years. First of all, thank you for the dono. I don't know if Giancarlo could be a manager, but right now, he's my hero. I mean, the man's just been so clutch all season. He had that walk-off on Mother's Day. I mean, he's had a couple of walk-offs this year. He had that big grand slam against the Orioles earlier this year. And it seems when Giancarlo hits a grand slam, he's in attack mode early in the count, and he hits them pretty far when he hits a grand slam. I think it was a grand slam that he hit. Maybe it wasn't maybe it was like a 3-run home run that he hit last year against Tyler Glasnow in the playoffs, where he hit it way up in the upper deck down there in San Diego. I know he hit a grand slam to center field in a clutch appearance at the end of the game. And then he hit a grand slam earlier this year at Yankee Stadium. I believe that was against the Orioles. And then this one. I mean, the man is tough to pitch to with the bases loaded because somebody says I said Stanton, not Chapman. It's a live show. Sometimes I'm going to mess up. It happens. But Yeah, I'm just loving what I'm seeing from Giancarlo Stanton right now. Brad Jewis says, newsflash, Kluber showed some emotion. DJ was true to form, no emotion after the grand slam. I think it's interesting that Kluber taught Mike King his breaking ball. Now, a lot of times marquee pitchers like Corey Kluber earlier in their career won't teach the pitch that is kind of their big ticket pitch. You know, Kluber's breaking ball, kind of a slurve slider type of pitch. It's one of the best breaking balls in baseball when he's healthy. And now that he's getting further along in his career, he's doing that Garrett Cole thing where he's passing on his information to the younger generations. And Mike King has been terrific with the sinker. The velocity is up this year. If he adds a dynamic breaking ball, I mean, that's just going to make him all that much better. But I do think it's interesting that Clay Holmes is another sinker baller. And when he was with Pittsburgh, he was throwing the breaking ball a lot. And since he's come to the Yankees, they've kind of taken that pitch away from him and made him put it in his back pocket. He's just throwing the sinker, but yet they're letting Mike King throw the breaking ball. So that shows that there's a different approach no matter whether the pitchers are similar or not, because Mike King and Clay Holmes are similar type of pitchers. They're both sinker ballers. So I just think that's interesting that they're working with those guys a little bit differently. Yankee says, Cole said something that made Kluber laugh. That had to be the best joke ever to do that. You know, Garrett Cole seems like a funny guy. He's pretty smart. You listen to him, he's got a lot of deadpan jokes in his post-game interviews. So I bet he is pretty funny. Ronnie says, that was a Pedro Serrano F.U. Jobu type of swing from Stanton.
My kind of team, Charlie. It's my kind of team.
Appreciate the dono, Ronnie. Get the Major League soundtrack there. Apparently, and I don't know if this is true or not, but they said it in the making of Major League, that the guy who hit that home run, who played Pedro Serrano, actually hit that ball out of the ballpark. Actually hit that ball. Dennis Hayward, that's his name. He ended up playing the President in 24, I think. But yeah, that was a fun movie. That's one of my all-time favorites. Dan Teddy says, Cole's voice doesn't match who he is. Makes me laugh every time. It's funny because he's from Southern California, and I have a friend from Southern California, and they sound very similar. Shout out to Brett if you're watching. Ariadna says, Monty doesn't get run support. It's honestly sad. You're not wrong. I agree.
I wholeheartedly agree.
And you get the dono. GG says, Giancarlo, non si può stopparlo. That was, I mean, I know that you guys just want to talk about that home run because that's all I really want to talk about too. If I were tuning in, I would just want to hear about that home run over and over again. So let's watch it kind of, you know, next time it comes up and just kind of evaluate and watch it sail off into the night. It looked like it was kind of what they call a cock shot right down the middle of the plate. He hits it to left center field, and it goes over that sign out there. It reminded me of a home run that A-Rod hit during the 2004 ALCS before the series was canceled after 3 games. It was, it just disappeared into the Boston night because there's no buildings or anything out there framing it. Watch, it just disappears. It goes over the sign and just kind of disappears over the DraftKings sign into the Boston night. It was a beauty. A beauty. And I love that he knows when he's hit it out of the ballpark. Even if he hits it 2 feet over the fence, he always kind of just like, he knows. You know, he hits enough of them in BP that he knows when it's gone, and he just kind of stunts a little bit. And Mr. Wells says that home run took the life out of Boston fans. Absolutely. By the time that thing landed, that stadium was silent. And the reaction from the Yankees bench was phenomenal too. You see everybody, I love it. I love that side cam when they're watching the dugout and you see everybody follow pitch in and then, you know, they follow it in and then they whip their heads real quick. That's just one of my favorite cameras in all of sports. And I love it when they show, this is more for home games, but when they show the close-up from the side of the guy hitting the home run, and then you see the fans in the background rise to their feet. Like, all at the same time. I like to see who's the first person to notice that it was a home run. Like, who's the first person who's been to that many games that they can tell instantly that it's a home run? You could probably tell from the sound. I wasn't there. I couldn't hear it. But my surround sound was like, bang. I was actually working here on the computer, and I had the game up on this screen in front of me, and I had it on the TV behind me. And the screen right here is like 10 seconds behind the screen right here. And I heard it come through the speakers like a split second before I saw it there. It goes, pow! That was just unbelievable. Lou Rom says that home run might have landed on the Mass Pike. It's the Boston Massacre. I don't remember the original Boston Massacre of 78, but in 2005, I think it was, the Yankees played 5 games in Boston, and I think they won them all. And I think A-Rod finished that off with his 48th home run of the season. My memory might be a little out of whack there, but I think it was 2005. That was an unbelievable series. Corey Melito says you need that sweep. Now that you've got a chance, you go get that sweep tomorrow. You know the Yankees are going to come out fired up going for that sweep. With a chance to win 6 straight, and then you take on the Blue Jays, who have kind of had the heart taken out of them. The Mariners have pulled even with the Blue Jays. I don't have the score up, or these scores for the major leagues right now. Let me just check it and see what scores we got. So right now, the Blue Jays and Twins are tied at 0 in the top of the first. So it's just getting underway. Mariners don't play until 9 p.m. They play against the Angels, though. But, I mean, if the Blue Jays lose today and maybe tomorrow, let's say they're 4 or 5 games behind the Yankees going into that series, sure, they can try and make up some ground against the Yankees. But if the Yankees win any of those games, it really, really hurts the Blue Jays. So, I mean, this was just a fantastic night for the Yankees. A. Rothman says, great tweet by the Yankees. Boston G Party. I love it. I love it. When I was a kid and I lived in New York, I don't live in New York anymore. I live in North Carolina. But one of the small pleasures in life was reading the New York Post or the New York Times or the New York Daily News headlines on the back page after a big win. And I'm ashamed that I don't get those papers anymore. So I wish I could, but I miss having those. Maria Mariquin says, I want the offense to stay consistent because we're going to need it to beat the Blue Jays and also Tampa. Thank you very much, Maria. Maria. I just heard that song a few minutes ago. A lot of times I jam out to music during the 9th inning because it takes some of the stress away from watching Chapman pitch. So I just put on my Good Times playlist, and that was one of the songs that came on. Let's see here. Got to watch out for the Mariners as well. Yeah, the Mariners are climbing, and they're tough. But I think the Yankees can handle the Mariners in a wild card game. Also, making Boston lose 2 in a row after their win streak is big. Now Boston's going to be kind of disheveled tomorrow. Do you lose 3 in a row, go on a losing streak? It's going to be a pressure-packed night. And I believe it's on ESPN tomorrow night. Nationally televised game. That should be a lot of fun. Ryan Kim says, Derek. How's it going, Ryan? Ariadna says, you can still get those types of papers and magazines mailed to you using UP. U.S. Postal, I guess. I typically, I mean, I know I could, but I just read their websites. I go to the New York Post Yankees stories most days. I always read Brian Hoke's columns from MLB.com. But I miss having the actual paper. There was something about being a kid in New York during the middle of the dynasty. You know, this was right around the time I was in middle school. I would get to school about, an hour before it started. I was always typically one of the first ones there, and I would have like an egg and cheese sandwich from the local deli and the newspaper. I would go to the library and I would read the newspaper. I would read the batting averages, the box scores, keep up with all the winners and losers and stuff. And look, this was back in the day before you had internet where I could just go check all the batting averages and stuff after the game. So I used to like to keep up with the batting averages, the ERAs, and reading the box score the next day. They always had the updated numbers. So that's what I looked forward to. I'm a stat guy. And so that was just one of my fun things growing up. Let's see here. New Yorker Liz says, love the New York Daily News puns on the Yankee wins, losses back page. Yeah, those are fantastic. I remember the Clueless Joe one when they hired Joe Torre. That's one of the reasons I'm not opposed to hiring Buck Showalter, because you never know who's going to be at the right point in their career, the right point in their life to win. And I felt like, Buck Showalter has a ton of experience. He's made some big mistakes in the playoffs. He's learned from those mistakes. Joe Torre was a guy who had managed, he had played, but he had never been to the World Series. And I feel like if the Yankees come up short this year, and look, I know we're all riding high right now, but Aaron Boone is still probably on the hot seat if the Yankees don't complete this thing. And so there is a possibility they could change managers, and Buck Showalter is sure to be somebody that would get consideration. Maybe not from Brian Cashman, but if Brian Cashman's gone too, it's definitely somebody that could be considered. Pinstripe says Stanton's home run landed in Monument Park. Yeah, he hit it down I-95 about a couple hundred miles there. Joseph's Dream says Stanton with the bat, Judge with the glove. The big guys put us on their shoulders. And what's interesting is Gallo hasn't done much in the last couple of days, but he was red hot. So if he, picks it back up tomorrow, that's the benefit of having a bunch of big guys in the lineup, is you can hit more home runs. I was thinking about this earlier. We always rail against the home runs. And it's not that we don't like home runs. It's that we want the team to be able to score when they don't hit home runs. And that's a perfectly valid opinion. I share that opinion. I do believe the Yankees should be able to play small ball a little bit. But, I go on like Patrick's podcast and we make home run predictions because home runs are exciting. We want home runs. They do the home run draft on John Boy Media. I'm going to start doing like the good at bat draft, or like the hit with runners in scoring position, or great defensive play draft, because there's so much more to baseball than home runs. Aaron Judge shows it right here, stealing a 2-run home run. I think that would have gone over the wall. Odor had one taken away from him. Brett Gardner had a good at bat tonight. Anthony Rizzo worked a good at bat tonight. It was just a huge night for the Yankees overall. Ryan Kim says, don't undervalue Judge's defense tonight. Bad Dog Sports, Bad Dog back on. Bad Dog was supposed to come on the other night, but he got caught up watching a movie with his son and missed our podcast. But I'm not going to hold that against him. I get caught up in movies too, and I've missed many appointments because I got caught up in movies or TV or whatever. What's funny is that so my work typically allows us to put our schedule, or like we can enter something in our Microsoft schedule, and it syncs up with my phone and my watch and things like that. And so I would get the schedule, my meetings and stuff on my watch. And I rely on my watch to, plan my day. But they're upgrading their software a little bit. And so for the last couple of weeks, I haven't had my schedule on my watch. And so I've missed like 3 appointments because I'm working and I don't get the alerts. So I don't know where I lost that, where that went. But Bad Dog, I forgive you. We will get a collab going at some point soon. Stanton should still play the outfield, says Darth Wacko. 100% agree.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Tarek says that grand slam in the 8th that Stanton hit was unmatched, unreal, and simply unbelievable. I'm just going to let you guys put everybody seems pumped up, so I'm just going to put as many comments as I can up on here. Patrick Glanville says, that's why I hate the Gallo trade, prefer Greg Allen type of player. It'd be interesting to see what they do with Greg Allen. If Aaron Hicks is unavailable next year at the beginning of the season, and there's no telling if he's going to be available because he had that wrist surgery. I know he's begun working out, but I don't think he's doing any kind of swings or anything like that. I think that Allen could be a guy that you see as the opening day center fielder, just because he's, he brings that extra dynamic ability to steal bases, to hit from both sides of the plate, pick up singles. I think next year you're going to see Giancarlo be the primary DH, but trade off time with Aaron Judge in right field. That was the original plan, to keep both of those guys healthy. Giancarlo would play some left field, and he would slide over to right field to allow Aaron Judge to rest. Giancarlo has shown this year that he's a better player when he's playing the outfield, so you don't want to put him in the DH spot too much. But I do think that you don't want to also give him 150 games in the outfield. You just don't know if he can take it. And watching him run, I mean, he just doesn't run that well anymore. So I think you're going to see a situation like this year where he kind of rotates back and forth. They might keep the DH spot kind of open, but I think he's going to get most of the at-bats in that situation. What does that mean for Luke Voit? Luke Voit's probably gone. I think it's interesting that Luke Voit was not in the lineup either of the last two nights. Big right-handed hitter in Fenway Park, a stadium that's great for right-handed hitters. Won the home run championship last year, and he's not getting any at-bats. I think that's just completely interesting. Susan Menegas says, I think that Allen is better than Hicks. I 100% agree.
Yes, I agree.
Bronx Bomber 129 says, can't wait for the Martian to join the Yankees-Sox rivalry. Initially, I thought that maybe next year, just based on the scouting reports and based on what I saw from him on the side, but his stats were pretty much league average, even though he's playing guys a little bit older than him. I don't know if you're going to see him next year. I think you'll see him get to probably Double-A next year, which will be interesting. He'll probably start at Hudson Valley and then move up to Double-A. And then in 2023, you start him off at Triple-A, and then maybe June, July, if he's playing well, get him up to the big leagues. I think that's what you're going to see for the Martian. David Kim says, props to King. He came in a difficult situation and got out of it with minor damage. Mike King has been fantastic. Let's hear it from Mike King. Hashtag King of New York. Kyle Owa says, Stanton grand slam lands in Antarctica, creates a crater in the ground. It was a monster shot. I always have a ton of fun with the jokes that I would do for the intro for Yankees Game Day. I haven't done many of those lately because the Yankees had kind of fallen off, and I didn't feel like people were in a mood for joking, so I've been going with more episodes of the Frieze. But if he stays hot, we might have to break that out. I did one earlier in the year. It's my favorite intro of all time, where he did he hit a grand slam the night before, and we did like a breakdown where we showed like where it landed, ended up landing on Mars. It was my favorite intro of all time. Everybody's pumped up about that Stantonian blast. Carlos Baladera says Volpe next year. I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, he played well at Single-A. He exploded on the scene, but the Yankees are really careful with their prospects. They really baby their prospects for a long time. I remember when Jesus Montero was absolutely tearing up the minor leagues, and the Yankees didn't give him a shot until like late in September that year. I don't know if you're going to see Volpe next year. It really depends on what the Yankees' plans are with shortstop, how many injuries you have. I think you're going to see Oswald Peraza next year because he got moved up to Triple-A at the end of this season. But all in all, absolutely fantastic night for the Yankees. One more time from Mr. John Sterling.
Ball game over. Yankees win. The Yankees win.
All right, guys, I'm going to head out. I will see you tomorrow. Great job by Giancarlo Stanton. Nice job by Aaron Judge, Nestor Cortez. Yankees win this one. That's 5 in a row. I'll see you next time. Special shout out to the Patreon supporters and anyone else who has supported this channel. If you enjoyed this video, give it the old thumbs up and subscribe for more Yankees content year-round. If you really enjoyed it, check out the Frieze. It's the official podcast of this channel. Or pick up some swag from the Teespring store, link in the description. Thanks for watching.